Summer 2013, I set up AS Mentoring when I left the NAS. The NAS had taken the decision to discontinue services to individuals and focus on training other organisations. And I felt it was important to try to keep the individual support services going, and that's where AS Mentoring came from. So, usually the services that we provide are very similar to the ones we used to provide to prospects. The first four of those bullet points are a couple of services, the services to individuals. The final bullet point, employee engagement, is what we've been referring to as the other half of the equation. It's what you were just talking about there, about how you get the employer buy-in. The key thing that holds all of this together and what's been a useful yardstick for us all the way through, both at Prospects and at ASM, is focusing on what does the individual need, what does the client need. When you've got a lot of individuals involved in providing those services, particularly if they're all motivated to do that work in the first place, you often have a lot of discussion and quite often disagreement about what's required. And if you come back to, okay, but in this context, in this particular case, what does that individual need, then you can usually get to a solution from there. Now, I do need to cover briefly just an overview of autism. I know a lot of you work in the field of autism professionals, but we do have delegates here who aren't specialists. So I'm not going to do an in-depth discussion of what autism is, but I did want to flag up the aspects of it that have particular relevance for an employment context. So you'll know that it's a spectrum condition, and what that means is there is a huge amount of variation between individuals. One of the things we consistently have to do over the years is to get past, particularly with employers, the preconception of what it means for somebody to be on the spectrum. Particularly if they saw Raymond 20 years ago and that's their kind of definition of what an autistic person is. So it's very important to stress with them, not only that there is, this person's very much an individual, but his or her needs will be different to another employee that you may have had in the past, particularly if they're working in a different role, you need different adjustments for them. As I mentioned, most of our clients have got AS. There is a range, even within that overall diagnosis of AS, a real range of abilities. Some are very well qualified, some not so well qualified. I think the key point in the employment context is that autism is very much a condition or a disability apart. It doesn't fit into the traditional two categories, either of learning disability or of physical disability. Obviously, there are a lot of people on the spectrum who do have a learning disability, but it's why a lot of autistic people, particularly as adults, get left out of specialist support services because they're either rooted to learning disability and say, well, I don't have a learning disability, and say, well, go to mental health then, or I don't have a mental health condition necessarily. And that's why the specific support is often required to maximise the opportunity for these guys.